We have a super show today. Men's Health with Christian Palmer, Relentless Fitness and Nutrition, and Linda Stevens, Women's Health Specialist, Midlife Mastery. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. Here, I am with Christian Palmer, Relentless Fitness and Nutrition, and Linda Stevens, Midlife Mastery. Today, we're going to cover all of the men's health, not all, but most, many, men's health topics and women's health. So, Linda, we'll start out with women's health. What do you find are the most common problems with the clients that you train?
So, as you know, I primarily work with women over 40, 50, and beyond in the perimenopausal, menopausal years, and even post. And I would say the biggest issue that I find with women now is that they don't have any idea where their hormone levels are. And it's a problem. And Christian and I talk about this a lot, given that, you know, he works with men. But I'll ask them, have you had blood work lately? And they all have done like a complete metabolic panel where you test your cholesterol and your fasted glucose and all those things. But many of them have no idea where their estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all their thyroid hormones, they don't understand, they don't know where it is. So they'll go back to their doctor and say, hey, let's do this panel. And many times, the doctors, most times, because my clients come back to me and say, my doctor said it's not necessary, we don't need to do it. I'm post-menopause, I don't need to do it now. Of course my hormones are low, I'm through menopause. But then they'll say things like they can't lose weight, they don't sleep, their libido's terrible, they have anxiety, they have depression, so they're on maybe an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety, when a lot of things can be managed if they knew their hormone balance, what their hormones are, and then you could treat that, and a lot of those problems, other problems, anxiety, depression, poor sleep, poor sex, would go away.
How do you advise them, and Christian, you know, I'll throw this at you also. How do you advise, because this is a common thing with all of us, you know, this common conversation, when the doctor comes back and says, no, everything's fine. And then you both have an understanding of blood work. We can't prescribe, but you would have an understanding. How do you advise them once that happens? And like you said, they are still experiencing these problems of fatigue, depression, anxiety, whatever they might be going through. How do you advise them once a doctor says that? I know, you know, that's a difficult place.
It is a difficult place, because I had one client who went back to her doctor because I said to her, you tell your doctor that you want to do this. It's your health and you have a right to know. So she went back to her doctor and said something similar to that. And the doctor told her, tell your nutritionist to calm down or something like that. So they ended up she ended up getting it done. But, you know, Christian and I, we talk a lot about this, given it's what we both do. And we're both so proactive in our businesses. So I've been talking to a lab now where I'm going to become an affiliate, and I just put together a female hormone panel. So shortly I'll have a link, and I can just give it to my clients. They click the link, they get the female panel emailed to them. They can go to any lab, use their insurance, get the work done. It comes to me. They sign a HIPAA form. They send me the results, the client gets the results, and then we can talk about it and then decide, okay, what are the next steps? Can we treat this through lifestyle modifications, or is it something that we need to talk to a doctor that's versed in hormone replacement therapy?
Exactly. And Christian, we'll dive into men's. What's the same routine, but according to men, what is the most common problems you find in men? And then again, when they come back with those panels and you see them and they still have experiencing those anxiety, the fear, depression, fatigue, how would you advise them? So step one is the common problem.
So common problem with men is a lot of men are afraid to come forward and actually say they have an issue, right? There are guys who end up with lethargy, their sex life suffers. In the gym, they're like, I just don't have that same vigor I used to. I don't have the same thirst for life, the same confidence. And similar to, you know, what Linda was mentioning with women is that men will have trouble losing weight, right? And building or holding on to the muscle they have. The other thing is they do not go to the doctor and get their checkups. Women are much better with one, self-care, and two, self-monitoring, right? They go and get their yearly at the OBG and so on and so forth. But men, I've got guys who I'm like, hey, when was the last time you went to the doctor? It was probably like 5 years ago.
Right.
Like, what?
Wow. Yeah.
And again, these are guys, I work with guys over 40. So I tell them, like, go to the doctor, get a blood test. And I come across the issues where the doctor will say, well, why do you need to know about testosterone? How do you feel? I don't feel great. Well, you know what? You're 48. That's kind of normal. You're 55. That's part of life.
Right.
And that ties into the same mindset that a lot of these men have. Oh, I'm just getting old. I'm like,
it's just try to the most accept, and they'll accept that.
correct.
Right.
And the doctor almost like coaxes them, say, well, you should just accept that. And the guy's like, well, my doctor said. And I'll say, just because they have a white lab coat doesn't mean they know exactly what to do. Some of them don't actually understand about hormone replacement therapy. So I'll say, let's get a test. Let's see what your free testosterone is, what your total testosterone is. We'll look at their thyroid hormone, so on and so forth. And then I'll also look at their lifestyle. I have a lot of guys who are executives, who are business owners. So they've got very little sleep. They got low testosterone. They're overweight. Their resting glucose is high. So they're a ticking time bomb, right? And statistically, when guys get to roughly the age of 50, their incidence of cardiovascular events, heart attacks, so on and so forth, goes up. So I'm like, listen, if you want to live the rest of your life feeling like crap, then just keep doing what you're doing. Accept what the doctor says. If you want to live optimally and you want to feel good, you want to be able to have a better sex life, play with your grandkids, not have your knees hurt, not have your back hurt, right? You've got zeros in the bank, but how do you feel when you look in the mirror?
Right.
If you want that, then let's take the next step. And then sometimes I'll actually have conversations with the doctor. I'll say, listen, just would love to talk about, of course, once the patient or the client is okay with that. And I'll tell them, like, what's your hesitation with the blood test? Well, there's a lot of paperwork and the insurance companies. I'm like, this is a person you're dealing with, not a number. And I think the most important thing that I've been working on doing is empowering the individual
So you
clients.
actually have the conversation with
Correct.
the doctor.
And the same thing with blood work is that getting in touch with different HRT doctors, labs, so that they can get the proper blood work.
Right.
Not just skim the surface. Oh, you're fine. But get something that's comprehensive enough, and then assess, is it lifestyle we need to change? Is it a medicine that you need to be administered, like TRT, which I don't do, but I have doctors that do that, or both, and oftentimes it's both.
So there's a book I'm reading right now by Tony Robbins. We all know him as a motivational speaker, but he has a great book out there. He interviewed some of the greatest doctors and experts in this world of regenerative medicine, anti-aging, and back to where we were going with when a doctor comes back and gives his opinion, not necessarily the correct answer. So in his book, Tony was diagnosed with several issues. He wouldn't accept what the first doctor said, so he went around to other doctors, and lo and behold, you align with the right doctor, given the right prescription, and functional approach, holistic approach, many things happen. So I think one of the first steps is, if someone comes back, is, well, can we talk to another doctor? Or as you said, both said, reaching out to a hormone clinic and, sharing the blood work with them and getting their opinion to better. So, you don't want to dispute a doctor necessarily, but you have to have it open for discussion, like, let's get another opinion.
Absolutely. And for women, it's so important to make sure that we understand our hormone balance as we age, because it directly affects our cognitive health, dementia and Alzheimer's. It affects our cardiovascular health. I mean, women have more incidence of heart disease and heart problems post-menopause because estrogen is dropped now, or it's very low. And now they're susceptible to that. And also, another big thing is bone density. So many women, and myself included, at the age that I'm at 55, I've never had a bone mineral density. And I asked my doctor a few weeks ago about that, my OBGYN. I talked to the office, not the doctor, and they said, well, you're not through menopause yet, so we don't really need to do that. But I said, well, I want to know how I'm doing, because if I'm having a problem, if I'm osteopenia or I'm a borderline osteoporosis, like, I want to know now to start correcting it. I don't want to wait till I'm 65.
Prevention.
Right. So I took it upon myself, and I went and had a DEXA scan. And any women that are listening to this, I urge you to go do a DEXA scan. And it doesn't even really matter how old you are. It's good to have, if you're younger, like 30-somethings, early 40s, it's great to have a baseline and then repeat it every few years so you can see what they give you. Your T-score tells you how strong your bones are. And then there's a range. So a DEXA scan is just as legitimate as going to a place to have a bone mineral density. I think I paid $150 for it. It takes like 10 minutes. You get this cool little report. It tells you your visceral fat. It tells you some other important information. But for women listening to this, it's really important that you get your bone health checked. And Christian and I, we did a podcast with Laura Pizzorno from AlgaeCal, and she gave some great info about that, and we can post the link somewhere if people want to listen to it. But it's so important, and I went back and actually listened to our podcast.
Yeah, let's do
with
that.
her.
Make sure that we do that.
And maybe we could even have her as a guest. But it's just so important. I mean, bone health. If we're brittle bones, I mean, that's a death sentence.
On that, Linda, reinforcing strength training and bone density. So I think many women, they're always thinking about weight loss,
right?
And not really putting emphasis on strength training.
Strength training is so important for women because it really forces the bone to lay down new layers so that the bones stay strong. You use the muscle mass, the muscles stay strong that surround the bone, and it just keeps your muscle integrity there. So as you age too, your legs are fully functional. You're not on a walker, you're not hunched forward or crooked, or someone's got to help you. So really getting into a good strength training program and not worried about getting bulky or building too much muscle, because that's not going to happen, ladies. But it is going to keep your joints, the integrity of your joints and your bones and your muscles intact for the aging process.
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone that both Christian and Linda have amazing content on their channels on Muscle and Fitness Plus, and the things that we talk about here, I'm sure is on their channels as well. So Christian is on Muscle and Fitness Plus at Relentless Fitness and Nutrition, and Linda is at Muscle and Fitness Plus Midlife Mastery, and both addressing men's health and women's health. So make sure you check that out. On that note, I just want to thank our sponsors, TRM and DRM Trainer Revenue Multiplier and Doctor Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness coaches, doctors, and healthcare professionals that helps you earn more working less. Check them out at trainerrevenuemultiplier.com. We would also like to thank Top Doctor Magazine and Top Doc Clinic in Miami, Florida. Very excited to be partnering with them to expand the vision, bringing together the world of health, fitness, and anti-aging through education and raising awareness. So make sure you check them out. Trainer Revenue Multiplier, Top Doc Clinic, and Top Doctor Magazine, which we have many exciting things in the next issue. Won't disclose right now, but cool stuff coming ahead. So let's dive over to Christian. I want to address mental health, and measures that you can take with really through your own personal accountability, by doing things, that can change the way you think, feel, and your mood. So let's begin with the food, because we all know that affects the moods. And I know you both are specialized in those areas of nutrition. So Christian, for food, so of course that will affect physically, your weight, watching what you eat, but talk about how that gut-brain connection.
So one of the greatest statements ever made, and it's one of the simplest, is let food be thy medicine, right? And medicine be thy food. And it's true. And I think there's not enough attention paid to, and it's not appreciated enough, how much food influences our body, how well we function, what we think, how we feel. Your gut is your body's engine. 70, arguably 80% of your immune system is there. So if the center of your body, and that's where we absorb our nutrients, right? It's where we process our fats. It's where we clean our blood. Well, that's not in the gut, but that's the liver. And think about alcohol, right? The older we get, the less efficient our body is. It's like a car. 100,000 miles, it does not function the same as it did when it was right off the showroom floor. It's just like a factory. If a factory's been around for 100 years, some of the machines aren't going to run like they used to. And the problem is that there's a lot of people who still eat like they did when they were 20 when they're 50. If you're eating things, you're snacking, you're eating Doritos, you're eating chips, cookies, cake, and all these processed foods, your body takes longer to recover from that. And also, remember, you're less efficient at absorbing nutrients. So now you're getting less of the good stuff. One, you're putting less of it in, and your body's able to extract less of it. So if you create inflammation in your gut, that is going to connect with your brain through the vagus nerve.
And that inflammation is a killer. Yeah,
literally.
Absolutely.
Every single disease is linked to inflammation.
Yeah.
Now people hear that and they say, "Oh,
how common? How you know, this is really common conversation now in our world, gut
Absolutely.
health. But when do you think it started to occur to many trainers and people to really look into the gut as a key component to the way we think, feel, and our moods?
It's still pretty recent. I mean, it's only been in the last couple decades.
Yeah.
Because prior, it was people didn't know as much about food. There were different fads like, oh, don't eat fat, don't eat carbs, right? But in general, it wasn't understood. The quality of your food often dictates the quality of your tissues, of your brain, of your function. So if you're eating inflammatory foods, the vagus nerve connects to the brain. A lot of people claim that they have issues with being lethargic, being tired. People say, oh, my memory, it's just not the same as it used to be. Now, part of that is you're not challenging your brain. But also, when hormones change, that changes the way your body absorbs food, right? And processes food. Now, there's a large percentage of people that have leaky gut, or what's called gut permeations.
And just so you know, I just want to do a shout out because I know you both visited with Dr. Robert Silverman,
Yes.
the author of Inside Out Health, and that was a great conversation.
Great guy, great
sorry to interrupt
conversation,
you,
yeah.
but that when you say leaky gut, you know, and you're well versed in this area. So.
And also
Yeah.
calling the gut the second brain now too, which
Yeah,
has just
correct.
been probably within the last 5 to 10 years they've been calling the gut
second
the second
brain.
brain.
Yeah.
So, and not to interrupt you, but even when people say I feel lethargic, I feel tired, all those symptoms, and they're eating a poor diet, or they're constipated, they're bloated, they're distended, and we've all felt like that at some point, right? So you're like every step is a labor, like you're like, oh my God. So what you put in your gut and that
You're feeding your brain.
response,
You're not feeding. You're feeding your brain.
It slows
right?
you down,
Yeah.
just like what Christian's saying.
So go ahead, Christian. What was what you were saying?
Exactly. So when it comes to food quality, eat from the ground, right? The less ingredients in it, the better in general. When it comes to giving your brain what it needs, same thing. It's the quality of food. It's funny. We all know that some guys get to 50 years old, they buy themselves a sports car, right? It's like the middle-aged, the 50-year-old guy with the high white socks and the white
Harley Davidson.
Yeah, it's a Harley or it's a Corvette. Now
It's
they
red,
will
and it's usually red.
they
No,
will
mine's orange.
they will spare no expense.
On the
Copper.
red spectrum.
Copper.
They will spare no expense at putting high test gasoline in that car, but then they'll go out and have a couple beers and chips and some crap and cookies, right? Not understanding that you're treating that Corvette like you would treat your child,
Right.
but you're treating your body like you would treat someone you don't like that much.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to have a life where you feel great, you look great, you got to put good fuel in. Now, a lot of people say, oh, but at the end of the week, I just want to have a... But what happens is, it's not just the end of the week. Yeah, you're having beers with your buddies and
One
pizza.
leads to two, leads to three.
Correct. But what are you having for breakfast? You having that sticky bun, you having, whatever sugary drink, then you're skipping lunch, or you're just going to grab something at the local fast food spot. Your gut is so important to how you function and how your brain functions. People also don't realize that when you eat better, you have better cognitive function. If you have a career where you're trying to make money and make decisions, and other people are relying on you to help them make money, why would you not try to create the best being that you can?
Yeah.
It's actually simple. The other thing is that these days, and I understand people's pain where people are confused by there's a lot of information. Oh, take this product. Use this product. January 1st, we all see
And the magic pill products.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, get on this program, you lose 30 pounds in a month. It's BS. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. But notice how when you look at all the people that have been successful in any industry, when you look at people in the financial industry like the Ray Dalios, right? They all have a method that they live by. The Warren Buffetts, when you look at people in
system, they
athletics,
have to-
Right.
look at Tom
structure.
Brady.
Right.
He's meticulous about what he eats. He's meticulous about his sleep, his recovery. Look at Michael Jordan. He worked with Tim Grover. Meticulous about his sleep, meticulous about recovery. Success leaves clues. So if you guys want to be like that, you have to treat your body like you're a high-level athlete because it is a high-performance machine. But if you put crap in, you will get crap out and you will feel like crap.
Well, like you said it earlier. You said,
So
you
true.
you can go through the day, and when you end your day, was your day filled? What your day from 1% to 100%? Was it a 100% day? And then, looking back on what you ate and what you did, I would think most people, when you're talking about that 30 to 50% because they're not doing what they can do to optimize. And think of the productivity and the difference, taking that day to day, multiplying it by the month, by the year, and years, and what it equates to.
And to just take a second to simplify things, I think a lot of people also say, okay, well, you're throwing all this information at me. What do I do? At the very least, and this does not take much time, you sit down and just write out the type of life you live. What does your schedule look like? 1, how much sleep are you getting per night? 2, what do your meals generally look like? Yes, you can think to yourself, I make good choices, but you're overweight and you don't look how you want. So something has to change. So you write down, okay, I have this for breakfast, this for lunch, this for dinner. General idea. Then you look at, how much are you exercising, if at all? And then you start to, just like you would on a financial statement, just like you would if you're trying to run a business. And then you say, okay, well, you know what? Instead of having just a coffee and 1 piece of toast, I'm going to add some protein in there. Start small. Start with 1 meal. Let's make breakfast look good. Okay, we're going to have some oatmeal with some berries in it. I'm going to have some protein powder or eggs, whatever works for you. And I'm going to make sure I do that for a week straight. Once that's, or maybe 2 weeks, once that's a habit, then we'll move on to the next. Then maybe once you get all 3 meals, then maybe it's start to exercise. Start small. Hey, if you're not exercising at all, go for a 10-minute walk every day this week.
So I'm going to ask Linda a question, and then I'm going to take it to you. So just a quick question and a tip, and then Linda, I want to go into what we were talking about before with health and how it affects the way you think and feel, but applying it to kids, what the parents are feeding their kids today before they go to school. So Linda, we'll start with you. Sleep suggestions, because when Christian, when he was writing out, he was doing my questionnaire.
Your programming?
Yeah, because you know me better than many. So my sleep patterns go like wild. So that totally affects. So my question is, sleep, which is a very important part of recovery, obviously. What can people do to help? What advice or tips would you give to help them sleep better?
I would say that, first of all, a big component is alcohol consumption. So, and especially in the women that I work with, they like to drink their wine, several glasses a night, people tell me. And that's a big problem, especially if a woman is in the perimenopausal years, menopausal years, because that directly is going to affect sleep through hot flashes and night sweats. Alcohol just gives you that response. You don't sleep well, you're restless, tossing, turning. So my advice to women always is, look, we gotta stop the drinking. And like Christian said, maybe it's baby steps. Maybe it's, let's take it out Monday through Friday. Maybe you have 1 or 2 glasses of something on the weekend if you feel like you need to do that. And then we'll slowly work at chipping that away. But definitely not consuming so much alcohol during the week. And for women in my demographic also is making sure, you have some sort of a routine. Everyone's stressed out. The kids are stressing them out, and life is stressful. And I know I experience a lot of the same stressors that a lot of my clients mimic to me. It's just life. But what I try to do at night is, this works for many people, is, write down what your stressors are. Put it in a note on a piece of paper, leave it on the kitchen table, and say, okay, my problems will still be there in the morning, so I'm going to go get a good night's sleep so that when I wake up in the morning, I'm ready and I'm clear and I can look at this list, and maybe some of the things that were really bothering me yesterday aren't so big anymore after a good night's restful sleep. And, journaling or writing things down. My mom always used to say to me when I was little and I'd be upset about something, she'd always tell me, take your problems, put them in your nightstand drawer, and close the drawer. Go to sleep now. It's time to rest. When you wake up in the morning, you can open it and take them out again, and then you'll be able to see much clearer at the end of the day. So I think it's finding a way to separate from the things that are stressing you at the end of the day. Writing it down, thinking about manifesting, putting it somewhere and leaving it in the kitchen or wherever you want to do that. Keeping alcohol consumption low. Don't eat heavy, fatty meals, lots of sauces and creams, or a big bowl of pasta, or lots of heavy foods before bed at night.
I would die.
You can't. Yeah. I like to make my last meal.
When's your last meal?
Usually I shoot for 6:30. 6:30. Sometimes
probably
7.
a lighter meal.
Usually I like to do salads and proteins and things like that at night. You want to make sure that last meal of the day is early enough so that you feel digested and your gut is not like full of food. When you go to bed and you lie down, you're like, oh my God, I overindulged. I ate too much sugar. I had too much dessert.
That's a big one because I think people eat way too late.
People eat way too late.
7, 8 o'clock. Their meal's not over till 9 or 10. Or they sit on the sofa
and they're eating a bag of potato chips while they watch TV, and then it's late, and so that's definitely an issue.
And eliminating that caffeine, early in the day, not 5 o'clock at night, and even if it's not the diet sodas or Cokes, that have that caffeine. So, Christian, what about you? Advice and tips for sleep habits, better sleep habits.
So a big part, especially for men, is going to be managing stress. You know this.
Yeah.
When, again, a lot of my guys are executives, CEOs, entrepreneurs. And when you go to bed, you're thinking about everything. Okay, like I got payroll to do. Okay, I got this problem to solve. I got to talk to this lawyer. I got to get.
You got to shut it down.
Yeah,
right.
I've got fires to put out. I got to make this call in the morning. You're like, what if that business deal doesn't go through? I don't know if the guy's going to show up. I've had some of my guys start journaling, and I'm like, I want you to take 5 minutes and write down what is bothering you. So at least, like Linda mentioned, you take that tangible thing that was in your head, and now you put it in the drawer. Yes, I'm not saying this is going to be a miracle the first day, but you start to learn how to dissociate from issues. Next,
to discipline.
You have to have the proper perception. How bad are things really, right? It's like all these things that are happening. People like to stack. I have this going on, that. I got to pick up the kids. I got to do this. I got to just understand that each day is a new opportunity to tackle those problems. You can't tackle them while you're sleeping. In fact, if you don't get good sleep, you wake up feeling not well rested, then you have a problem.
Complete difference
tackling
when
the
you
next day.
Absolutely.
Correct.
You can't think clearly either.
Exactly. And I would say also, make it a point to get off of your devices within the hour before you go to bed.
100%.
Now that includes TV, because people will say, hey, I'm off my phone, I'm off my iPad, I'm off my laptop, but I'm watching TV.
Don't watch the news.
Yeah, I've had my clients start reading books, because when you look at paper, you don't get the stimulus of the blue
reading
light.
is a great
And it puts you to sleep.
Yeah,
correct.
True.
Yes, a lot of them, they wake up with the book still on their stomach. And what'll happen
and reading
is
something that's healthy.
Yes.
Reading something that's healthy and positive.
Not the news or
You're putting it
any
into
crap
the
like
subconscious for the next 6 to 7 hours. That's now sitting in your brain instead of I have to do this,
exactly.
this, and this.
And what I'll tell them is I'm like, I want you to pick a book of something interesting.
Right.
Don't pick a book that's going to try to make you solve problems. Right. But pick a book, maybe it's about a topic that you find could be nature.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to learn about lions and tigers. Cool.
Right.
But while you're reading that, your mind is now off the problems that happened during the day, and it's in this book. Then you drift off to sleep thinking about the things that you were just reading about.
It's a great
distraction.
Also,
you don't get the blue light. Blue light stimulates the brain, and that makes you want to wake up and take action.
And the worst thing you could do is like, my phone's off. My phone is completely off. The worst thing, I see it
Mine goes
all the time.
on moon or
people
do not
that leave
disturb.
their phone on throughout, and then you got they leave their signal on. They're getting the phone call, and then suddenly you reach over. As soon as as you said, that light. As soon as that light hits the brain,
you wake up.
It's boom.
Well, the other thing too about the phone is that I will not look at my phone after a certain period of time at night, because I don't want to see messages from people that might upset me or get me riled up. So I go on do not disturb.
So is yours about the same thing? Mine's an hour before, as you said. I'm an hour before.
A couple of hours before. Usually when I'm sitting down to have my dinner, I put my phone
and that
on do
includes
not
TV.
disturb. Because
if I'm doing something, it's going to what he said is reading. I'm going to read something that I'm going to enjoy. That's not going to make me think about the work.
And I think one more quick thing too is Christian and I both have Oura rings, and we talk a lot about it with our clients. But an Oura ring is great because it will give you that feedback so you can see what your sleep is like the next day. So you can see what your REM sleep is, deep sleep, how long it took you to fall asleep, where you restless. It tells you a whole bunch of information. Were you really sleeping or
tossing and turning?
Yes, and it's really interesting because then you see it and you're like, okay, wow, my REM sleep was really low last night. Why was that? Or, and you can take steps to correct those problems, because REM sleep is really important. It's where we, our cells regenerate and we repair and we recover.
No, that sleep is critical. That affects everything.
A ring is great versus a watch, just because an Apple Watch will make sounds and vibrate and ding and dong, and I couldn't sleep with that on my wrist anyways. Which is why I don't have one, because I just don't want to be that connected. Right. But the ring is cool because it doesn't do anything, and you wear it, and it's just I sleep with it, and I have no problem with it.
So we have a few minutes left. So on both of you. So in regards to sleep again, let's stick with sleep. I was going to say sleep and recovery, but I think we dive into other things there. Supplements for sleep. Are you a believer in supplements for sleep? Any vitamins or supplements for sleep?
So I'm a big advocate of using magnesium at night before sleep, because magnesium does help your body calm down. If people have restless leg syndrome and other situations, magnesium has been shown, and most Americans are deficient in magnesium anyways. So I use magnesium glycinate before bed at night. I take 400 milligrams a day, and I believe that really works for me. But I don't use melatonin. Normally with the women in the demographic that I work with, many times it's more hormonal, and
as the reason why they're restless,
their
or
sleep is poor.
Sleep patterns are bad.
And quickly, I mean, I've been experiencing that. I just went through, to use my own self as an example, I went through and did all my blood work with a bioidentical doctor, and I'm perimenopausal, and my progesterone is very low, which is normal. Estrogen's okay, but progesterone is low, and that is why I toss and turn a lot, and I don't have great quality sleep. I've always
How many hours of sleep do you average?
I go to bed around 9:30, 10, and I get up around 5:30, 6.
Okay, well that's pretty good.
So,
yeah.
but I know I move
Better
around
than
a
me.
lot, and my ring tells me that I was restless, or I was this, or I was that. But I know it's a result of my hormones.
Right.
So I always feel like with women, like before we start plugging you up with melatonin or this or that or sleeping pills, or many women, I've had women tell me they take Unisom and they drink NyQuil. They take cold and sinus meds with antihistamine in it to sleep.
That's a rough one.
I say before we start doing those things, like let's get your hormones checked, because
check out the day. What are you doing throughout the
progesterone
day?
is low, that is directly going to affect your sleep. So that's what I come from. But I usually will suggest magnesium.
Magnesium. Christian, what about you?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm a big fan of ZMA, zinc magnesium complex, but magnesium is the
Take zinc separately, or is
so they sell them in a combination supplement. Yep, there's a certain ratio that they find works ideal. And yeah, I think having a device like a Oura Ring or Fitbit or whatever device tracks sleep, because think about all the devices we have now. A lot of us just use these things to waste time. But if you're going to invest in a device, gamifying your sleep is actually fun, because it's very useful, because let's say you make a change to your lifestyle. Hey, I'm going to start eating better. Is that affecting your sleep? How are you going to know? Something like an Oura Ring will tell you. So to give you an idea, recently I started messing with sleep and food volume before I go to bed. Sleep temperature, room temperature. So I used to sleep in a much warmer room. We're talking like 80 degrees, and I was like, oh yeah, that's fine.
God.
And I would sweat a little bit, but I'm like,
Couldn't do that. Wow.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I'm like, never a problem. I read a book called Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker, and I've also been reading some sleep science, and they're like, ideal temperature is about 68 to 72.
Well, you're right, though. At younger, I could sleep like that. Now I have to be 68,
I'm at
68.
69, 70.
Yeah, and now I keep the room cooler.
What are you,
And
about
of
the same thing,
course-
68 somewhere in there?
I've read about 70.
70?
And of course, the ring tells me my sleep is better now. Now, also food volume. So you guys had mentioned before, I had never had any problem. I still don't have a problem. I can eat a huge meal
And go to
go
sleep?
right to sleep.
Really?
It's true.
But
I've witnessed it.
I wake up and
How, you feel different? You feel different?
yes, exactly. So I would go to sleep and be like, I wake up, I feel fine. But my ring would tell me the sleep wasn't as good. I brought down my food volume,
Interesting.
and I would stop my last meal. I've been stopping it roughly an hour and a half. On a good night, 2 hours before bed. And I wake up, I sleep straight through, don't even get up to pee, and my sleep quality is better. So here's where, if we're giving you tips on how to improve your sleep, here's a device you could use, like an Oura Ring or a Fitbit or whatever, Apple Watch, if that's what you got.
Take notes. Take notes.
Yeah, and then see what your lifestyle changes are doing. You have a lot more power to determine if the results are actually happening, because that's what we want, is results. The same thing with blood work. Men, you're stubborn. We are stubborn. I'm the same way. I'm a hardhead. But just get the blood test,
Also
at least
true.
see where you are. Because if you say that you want to feel better, but you have no idea where your testosterone is, and same thing with melatonin. I have guys tell me, I'll drink a beer before bed. I'll do melatonin.
Yes.
Some do wine. It's more so with women, but... And yeah, it might help you fall asleep, but during the latter part, it's actually going to disrupt your sleep and make it worse. So then you wake up and you feel worse than you would have even if you didn't drink anything.
Yeah.
And you're trying all these things, these supplements, and you don't realize it's because your T is low.
Right.
And because your habits are not good.
We gave some great tips there. So in closing here, then I want you both to mention your channels because, of course, you give great content, going over some of the things we went over today. What I found very beneficial is forcing yourself to a quiet space for meditation.
Yes.
And then forcing yourself to silence everything.
Solitude.
And then the mind is going to go here, but you take it back. And Dr. Joe Dispenza said it best. When it does that, it says you treat it like a dog and you say, sit. You're not moving. You're not going to think about your emails. You're not going to think about getting that cup of coffee. You're not going to think about that itch on your forehead. You're going to focus. And once you condition your mind to sit and stay silent, that's where you start to take control of how you think and feel. And again, prior to going to bed, as you both said, be very careful on what you're thinking about. Don't review the day and all the things that need to be done tomorrow. Good thoughts prior to sleep. And think of ways how to reduce stress. You've got great tips here how to do that. Like I said, meditation is good. Morning ritual, starting the day out the right way.
And the same way every day.
Yeah, in the same way every day, because it all comes down to, Linda mentioned a keyword earlier, we didn't talk too much about it, but discipline's huge. It's not motivation, it's discipline, it's habits and behaviors. And reinforcing things that are good for your mind, that you're going to fuel your mind. And remember, again, in closing, what you feed your gut, you're not just feeding your gut, you're feeding your brain. So, go ahead, Christian, you were going to say something.
Yeah, so, and the last part is, you have to feel good about your own character and keeping your own promises. We all have our own personal credit score, right? Your own credit score are the things that you said you would do. Have you done them, right? If you pay the bank, you got a good credit score. If you don't, you don't. So if you said you were going to get to the gym and you don't, even if you think, I'll just go Monday, you're going to feel bad about yourself. You're not going to feel confident. But even if you tell yourself, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes every day this week, that's it. You don't even have to go to the gym. If you complete it, you will feel better about yourself, and that will make you want to do more.
Small gradual changes,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. So you want to make sure that you are setting goals that are manageable enough.
And attainable.
They make you stretch a little bit. Exactly. But they're not so big that you're going to fail.
To let yourself down, right?
Correct. And then once you accomplish those, you're going to feel better about yourself. Now, being more confident will improve your sleep. It will improve your sex life. It will improve your cognitive function. It'll improve
Mental
your
health.
relationships with others. Exactly. You will be a better human being because you're developing better character. And that, I can't state that enough, because there's a lot of people who do the right things in other realms, but they don't feel good about their own accomplishments because they're not living up to a standard.
Right. Consistency is king.
Exactly. And then once you have a routine, stick to it. Make it sacred. Nothing will get in the way of you accomplishing your personal routine, because that's how you become the best human being you can.
And it begins with a plan. You have to have the plan.
Have to have a plan. And also, too, if you're feeling, extraordinarily stressed at times or all the time, the foods that you put into your body are they going to help you manage that stress and soothe your adrenal glands that sit on top of your kidneys that secrete cortisol. Like, you want to give your body good, clean, real foods. If you're stressed and you're eating Doritos and chips and ice cream cake, cookies, alcohol, all that stuff, fatty foods, your body is going to be so weighed down, and you're going to add to that stress. And then in your mind, you're going to be like, oh my God, I just ate all that crap, and now I'm going to put on 10 pounds. And now you're just
affecting your mental state.
Compounding. So I tell my ladies, even when you're stressed, you've got to feed yourself vegetables, fruits. Even if you want to eat extra fruit, it's fine. No one ever became obese because they ate too many blueberries or strawberries. That doesn't happen. So find the comfort foods that are good for you, because it's going to help you manage that very high cortisol. And
keep that protein up. Protein is the most consumed, underappreciated macronutrient. You need it to hold on to muscle. Sarcopenia, the loss of muscle as you age, is a real thing due to hormones. So keep that protein up. 1.8 grams to 1 gram per pound of lean body weight.
You heard it right here. The best in men's health, the best in women's health. And I just want to do another shout out to TRM, DRM, Trainer Revenue Multiplier, Doctor Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness coaches, doctors, and healthcare professionals that helps you earn more working less. We have 2 clients right here that turn their business completely around to TRM. Earn more, working less. Check them out at trainerrevenuemultiplier.com. We would also like to thank Top Doctor Magazine and Top Doc Clinic in Miami, Florida. We are very excited to be partnering with them to expand the vision, bringing together the world of health, fitness, and anti-aging. Christian and Linda, let them know where they can find you and also on your channels.
Thank you. You can find me at Instagram. My handle is at Linda Stevens. Fit Stevens is STEPHENS. My channel on Muscle and Fitness Plus is Midlife Mastery, where I go over everything midlife for women, You can find so much great content there, and more is to come.
Instagram, it's Christian F. Palmer. On Muscle and Fitness Plus, it's Relentless Fitness and Nutrition, and my website is relentlessfitnessandnutrition.com. If you're a man looking to better yourself and become the man you know you want to be, live more confident, feel more vigor, energetic, that's where you want to be.
And my website is lindamstevens.com, and you can click the little link right there and schedule a complimentary call with me if you want to talk about what's happening.
Christian, good. Awesome. Best of the best right here. Surround yourself with great people and make great things happen. Rob Fletcher, make sure you tune in. We have the best people, the best experts. Live optimal.